Skimas romantic.
Hello and welcome to Olympic Dispatch by Skimo Gold. This is the premier podcast for ski mountaineering interviews and race analysis. We're coming at you today with a fantastic cast for race analysis of Skimo in the Olympics. I'm so pumped to say it. Thanks to many of you for being along with Skimo Gold throughout the Olympics. We've been doing daily episodes. And if you're just coming to us and you just heard about Skimo, welcome. I hope you enjoyed watching Skimo on the Olympics. I hope you're pumped for some race analysis. And I hope you're excited to go back through our previous episodes, learn more about Team USA, learn from analyst Katie Friend, learn from the Italian athletes, learn from the medal contenders. We've got a lot of content out there. And if you're just learning about ski mountaineering for the first time, you have come to the place. We'll get into the analysis quickly, but first I want to say thanks to the brands who've helped us produce daily content here during the Olympics. If you want to ski uphill, it all starts with the climbing skin. I have been using Pomoka skins from the start. I've also been using Dynafit just about every day, my whole career out there in Skimo and alpine touring, some type of Dynafit product. Hey, if you're looking on YouTube, if you're not on YouTube, check it out. And if you're on YouTube now, check out that Dynafit boot behind me. The thing is like a piece of art that meets a rocket science project. It's pretty cool stuff. Thanks also to Training Peaks. This is the platform that I use as an endurance coach and athlete. Please visit trainingpeaks.com/Skimo Gold for a free trial today. Please also check out revantacreatine.com/Skimo Gold to learn about Revanta Creatine by Neuro Reserve. At that website, you can use code Skimo Gold, all caps, for 10% off. And please also check out camp. I've been telling you throughout the Olympics about the 130-year-old Italian gear brand based there in the mountains where the Olympics are happening, where many of our guests are from. Camp makes awesome stuff. They have a mountain culture that's been highlighted by the Olympics. So please check out camp. And a final thanks to palmtreepodco.com. This is Palm Tree Podcast production, producing our daily episodes, the social media, the video. Again, if you haven't seen YouTube, please check it out. Fantastic videos and just an overall professional product. So thanks again to Anthony Palmer and the team at Palm Tree Pod Co. All right, folks, it's finally here. Skimo in the Olympics. I'm excited to talk about the races. Let's roll on Skimo Gold. All right, Joe Howdyshell and Rory Kelly, so great to be here, especially with you two talking about the first medals that were awarded today in the sport of ski mountaineering. You guys are on the ground in Bormio, in Italy. You've already said that we may need to pause the recording at some point if you need more beer because you're recording from a bar. I'm sure it's just full of Skimo fans, maybe even some of the Skimo athletes, those who did the sprint but are not doing the mixed relay. Man, guys, what a day. It's awesome to be here with you, to get to celebrate. I'm thinking I'll go through the results briefly, and then you guys are the stars of the show. You put in, I was thinking, I put in my time for Team USA in the Olympics. I got up early, the time difference, watching the peacock racing. You guys, you put in your time for Team USA. You made a whirlwind trip, get to Italy on Wednesday, sprint race Thursday, mixed relay Saturday, and then home on Sunday. man, super fans. You guys are more than super fans. We'll hear more about that. But let's get to the results. These are again the first ever medals in the sport of ski mountaineering. It's been a long time coming. I feel like I've been just waiting forever doing these daily episodes. I'm so glad it's happened. I'm so glad we can talk about it. So again, very briefly, and then we'll get into exactly what happened. So in the women's race, I'll do top 6 because we go quarterfinals, then semis, then finals. 6 people make it through to the finals. We don't have time to mention everyone who competed, but just obviously making the Olympics is incredible. It was so hard to do it. But here's the top 6 for the women. 6th place was Margot Ravinel of France. 5th place, Giulia Murata of Italy. Listeners, go back, check out Giulia's episode on Skimo Gold recently. 4th place, Tatiana Poller of Germany. Tatiana's interview actually came out this morning before they did the races. I love doing her interview. 3rd place, man, I think everyone's heart went out with this one. Ana Alonso Rodriguez of Spain, perennially one of the top athletes. She was hit by a car in October, huge injuries to her leg, battled back. She was clearly on the upslope over the last few weeks, but boy, to see a 3rd place in the sprint, I mean, just so awesome. And then what a race at the front. We had probably the favorite Emily Harrop. She's won the recent World Cups versus Marianne Fatone. Harrop from France, Fatone from Switzerland, and these two have had big races, especially in the championships. And as has happened in previous world championships and the biggest races, Fatone took the win. And we'll get into it, but boy, was she excited. And I also felt for Emily. Emily's interview was on Skimo Gold recently as well. I mean, she was a favorite. She's won all the World Cups, and it didn't come together for her. So like an Olympic silver, that's incredible. She probably wanted a gold. Let's go to the men real quick, and then we'll turn it to you guys. So men's race, 6th place, Jan Kissler, Switzerland. Kissler was one of the favorites. It looked like he there were some issues out there for many people, dynamic conditions. We'll get into that. 5th place, Haute Ferrer from Spain. 4th place, Arnaud Lieta from Switzerland. 3rd place, Thibaut Anselme of France. Hard charging at the end, as always. 2nd place, Nikita Filipov, individual neutral athlete. He is from Russia, can't race under the Russian flag. He's what an interesting story. He's, it's like Nikita and his dad in a camper driving around Europe, getting to these races. Pumped for that guy. What a performance. And then 1st place, probably what we expected for the gold medal, Oriol Cardona Cole of Spain. He's been looking strong last season and all through this season, and he made it happen on the big day. So congrats to Oriol. Listeners, go back and find Oriol's interview in the last couple of weeks. Cool guy, low key, and just wow, what an athlete. And very briefly, the Americans, Anna Gibson and Cam Smith, both qualified for the semifinals. They look great in the heats and in the semis. I would say good day for the Americans out there. So guys, let's turn it over to you. Let's do Rory and then Joe. Why don't you introduce yourselves real briefly? And then guys, I want to hear all about what is it like being at the Olympics for Skimo?
Sure. Yeah. So, Rory Kelly. I was on the national team from 2015 to 2020, raced with some of the, current crop of sprinters. Some of them are younger, but raced with Cam Smith, notably for a good part of my career. So know Cam pretty well. And then I'm also currently acting as the USOPC rep for the athlete rep for ski mountaineering. So I've gotten sort of behind the scenes view of the Skimo world from the paperwork side, which is a lot less fun than the skiing side. But hey, it's better than nothing. And actually, during most of the time I was on the national team too, Joe was the coach.
Yeah, I'm Joe Howdyshell. I was the national team coach from 2016 to 2021, something like that. Led a couple teams to the World Championships, led a team to the Youth Olympic Games in 2020. And then, just kind of passed off the torch to the next crew with all the peeps who got the Olympics done. It's been really, really fun to watch, and also, see some of the early work pay off in a way like it has. Like it's really fun to be here.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad that you guys are there, and you're right. I mean, you guys, as like so many people, have played such a big role in making this happen, in getting Team USA there. Just huge to have the teams qualify. And for the listeners, again, these guys are in a bar in Italy, drinking the beers. Everyone's partying post Skimo, so we're doing the best that we can with the Wi-Fi that exists. Maybe Rory, tell us a little bit more. Just this moment in Skimo to have the sport in the Olympics. Kind of what does that mean, and what did it feel like to be there on the ground with Katie Friends doing the live announcing? We have Max Valverde's doing the announcing for NBC. Nikki La Rochelle from who we know well from Colorado. She's doing the announcing on Olympics.com with OBS. And then I think you guys are in those stands with people from all around the world. I saw the Ott Ferrer fan club. They had all these banners. It was a Team Ott or something. And I'm sure there's things like that for all those people. What was it like, Rory, and what does it mean to you?
Yeah, I bet, I was thinking it's probably like this for a lot of the people that were there from different countries, but it's kind of like two things going on. One, I mean, as an American, I'm of course rooting for success for Cam and Anna and wanting to see them kick butt. But then there's also this secondary layer of like, it's just so cool to see our sport finally in the Olympics, right? Because it's something that's been talked about. Like it was for my first Worlds in 2015, one of the women I was on the national team with in 2015, she had a friend who she had gone to college with who randomly worked for IOC, and he was at that World Championships inspecting it for the IOC for future inclusion into a game. So from 2015, we knew that it was something they were thinking about. And so it's kind of always been in the background. But then to see it, I mean, here we are 11 years later than that, to see it actually happen. It's super cool. So there were those two things, like rooting for your country, but then also just kind of a celebration of the sport generally and just watching it take off and seeing all the fans. And it was amazing. I was telling Joe, I think, it might be the biggest Skimo crowd assembled for a single event. If you don't count like Fieramenta, all the people spread all over, but in one place, it was just cool to see that many supporters. So.
Cool. Yeah, I got that vibe from TV. It was pretty cool watching it, and it was also cool. I flipped it on, middle of the night here, and Colorado, as many listeners know, has had a very dry winter. Yeah. I turn it on, and it's like, holy cow! It is actually winter in Italy, and it's snowing hard. It looks like heavy, wet snow. I'm thinking these are dynamic conditions when it comes to climbing skins, having the right glide, but also having enough traction. The transitions, sometimes when it's this kind of snow, you can get little bits of ice in the boots or bindings that kind of changes things up. Joe, you've done as much Skimo and transitions and all this. You're as far into the weeds of this stuff as anyone. What do you think? What do you think about these conditions, and how did you see that playing out?
Yeah, we were talking about this first thing in the morning, that it would be a really interesting day of both trying to get enough glide on the skins with waxing skin. And indeed, there was one of the athletes, Ivana Janaszek, the Polish athlete. Mm-hmm. I saw her post on Instagram afterwards, and she had horrendous glopping. Snow accumulating on the bottom of her skins. And so she got knocked out, I think, in the quarters. And she's probably someone who's, from a history standpoint, probably should have been in the finals. But then you've got that side, but then you've also got, like we're out walking around in the snow, and as it's falling, it's packing down. And the spectator area was just the slickest thing I've ever seen. And then you're watching these athletes on the boot pack slipping and sliding. Like it was more falls on the boot pack than I've ever seen in any race. And it was because it was so slippery. And so you've got, it was probably 15 centimeters, 6 or 7 inches of snow was falling like during the few hours that the competitions were happening. So you had glopping on one side, you had really, really slippery conditions on the other. And then also, and we couldn't see, and like the Jumbotron at one point cut out. So we couldn't see exactly what was happening on that upper transition. But that was one of the things that I was talking about earlier in the day, was that the boot at the top of the boot pack, as athletes were putting their skis back on, the snow was sticky enough that it was really like just really causing some problems. And I couldn't see what was happening up there. I wasn't standing next to the transition, but there were definitely some significant place changes that I noticed coming off of that. So I'm guessing that there were some athletes who were struggling to get their boots back into their skis because the snow was just packed in them.
Yeah, that's what I saw too, and I'll tell you a couple key ones that I saw. But first, Rory, do you want to give us a breakdown of the course itself? If you know, some of our listeners have been into Skimo for a long time, and they're just totally pumped like us. I bet we have some listeners who watch Skimo for the very first time today. Rory, when you're in the stands, the gun goes off. We got 6 athletes. They're going full speed. Walk us through the parts of the course, you know, and what does it look like to you in the stands as they do each of these, you know, kind of sub-disciplines of the sport of Skimo?
Yeah, sure. So the course was it was pretty cool. So, you know, as standard for a sprint, they start 6 wide, so 6 athletes at a time. They usually give them a pretty straight, simple run out, right? So they can get a little separation. You can get a leader and a follower and give that group some time to separate before they go into the diamonds. So then 2 sections of diamonds below the boot pack, you know, skin up to the boot pack transition, skis on the back, run up the stairs. Like Joe mentioned, were probably the slipperiest stairs I've ever seen in a ski race. I mean, you almost never see someone fall on the stairs, and we saw that multiple times. So you know those things were super icy. Then, you know, skis back on the feet at the top. Again, I agree. I think that combo, there's like the really heavy sticky snow on the boot pack was making it hard for them to get their skis back on. Probably the little tech fittings were getting clogged up with snow. Probably had some misfires on bindings at the top. But then a short skin to the top, ripping the skins, and then down through kind of a banked slalom, which was pretty cool. That was kind of a nice addition to this, I think, because it made it possible to pass on the downhill with the banking. And then, yeah, I think something that we noticed in person, and this might be relevant for the people who had watched on TV. So this was the World Cup last year, and watching the course on TV last year, Joe and I both had the impression it was pretty flat, like kind of a low angle, less vert course. And in person, it's actually quite steep.
Yes.
So if you're watching at home and it looked like it wasn't that steep, the stuff they were running up, no, in person, it's actually, pretty aggressive. So that was definitely something that I was surprised by.
Excellent. That's a great description. I think you're right about that. I noticed some of these Skimo sprints at the finish, the athletes will kind of come around a corner and it gets much less steep at the end. There's even some skating to the finish line. This finish line, it looked like it remained pretty steep, you know, and at the end it was more of kind of like I've been watching all these, you know, Olympic alpine races and the athletes come to the line and they're doing that kind of dive, you know, almost that sort of thing. Like it's steep and fast all the way to the finish. And I would agree with you. When I was watching on TV, the key part of the course to me seemed to be the boot pack or the foot part, which again, it was these stairs. And sometimes the foot part, it's like the World Cup in Solitude, it's athletes just running up the snowy hill. In this case, it was actually stairs built into the hillside using pieces of wood. And my read was that exposed wood with the heavy, wet snow on it, I think that's what was so slippery. Like basically, if your foot hit that wood, you're probably going to slide. So you want to, if you can, keep your feet on the snow in between the wood. And I also saw these stairs were built in a way so that almost all the athletes couldn't skip stairs. Sometimes if the stairs are small enough, you get a taller athlete like Oriol Cardona-Cole or Honor Lieta, they can skip some stairs, which is a big advantage, especially if you're a tall man. I think there was less of an advantage this time because it was only single stepping. And then guys, you're right, that transition from the boot pack to skinning again. And on that one, athletes have to take the skis off their back. They put them down between their legs. And then as quickly as possible, you got to click your toes into these little pins on the front of the binding and lock the binding and go off. And it seems pretty simple, but especially in these conditions, if you get just a teeny bit of ice, either in those little holes on the boot or anywhere on the binding, it just, if it messes me up, it takes an extra 2 minutes. If it messes these athletes up, it's an extra 1 or 2 seconds. But we saw that. I think Emily Harrop was in the lead in the final at the top of the stairs, and it was like an extra half second on her right boot, and Marianne Fatone nailed that transition, and they changed places, and Fatone won. And then we also saw some big problems, like Marianne Jagerchikova in one of the, I believe it was a semifinal, had a great lead, and she had a big problem. I don't know what it was, but something happened. Something happened to Max Drion in that transition. Something happened to Arnold Lietha, I believe, in that transition. And these people are the best in the world. They know how to manage conditions, but like sometimes things just get messy, and you lose 2 seconds, you're toast. Thanks to Dina Fit and Pomoka for supporting the Skimo Gold podcast. If you're like me and you love uphill and downhill skiing, there's probably a good chance that you like summertime mountain activities as well. Hiking, running, biking, backpacking, all the good stuff. DinaFit is a great summertime brand as well. If you're looking for a light, fast, technical race shoe, consider the Alpine DNA 2. And if you're thinking about logging some miles in training and or in long and slower races, more my kind of thing, think about the Ultra DNA shoe. They also, in addition to great Skimo packs, have some excellent running vests, such as the DNA 8 vest. Summertime, wintertime, all the time. Check them out, DinaFit and Pomoka. As you guys watched, tell us about key moments. Like what did you see? Whether it's the men's race or the women's race, could be finals, could be heats. What stood out to you?
I would say one thing that stood out to me for an American is just it was really cool to see. I mean, for your listeners that are new and maybe don't follow the whole season, 2 events, right? So there's the race today, the sprint race, and then on Saturday there's the mixed relay. And the mixed relay is the race where we expect Team USA to do a little bit better. So we wouldn't necessarily expect Cam and Anna to both make it to the semis, and it was awesome to see both the man and the woman from the US qualify up to the semis. So that was immediately cool because, like in my mind, I think like, oh, well, it's the Olympics. Like they've got a little extra to give today because it's so important. And then you realize all the people they're racing have the same motivation, right? So everybody's going probably as hard or as much effort as they've ever put into any ski race in their life. So to me, looking forward, like that was just awesome to see them performing at this level. And yeah, that stood out for sure.
Yeah, I think the conditions were really hard. I mean, they were tough for the spectators, but they were, even tougher for the athletes. I think it's been a while since we've seen a race at that level, a sprint race at that level. And, in sprinting, it's just all the skills are just so much more important than the difference between somebody who's nailing it and somebody who misses just a little bit is really small. And we just saw all of that multiply today with the conditions, which was tough and challenging. But I think it's also one of the things that we kind of, and I don't know, it's kind of interesting to think about how like this was definitely one of the things that I think a lot of people were concerned that the Olympic movement would kind of sterilize Skimo. We have this sport that we love because it's so multifaceted and it's so difficult to put all of the factors together. And I think this was a great example of a day where it was like, even the Olympics can't take the weather out of this shit. Because it was, you just saw all of the things happen. But I think like my favorite part was like the racing was awesome, but also just seeing how many USA flags were out there in the fans, and they weren't related to anybody with Skimo. it wasn't, it was people who had come to watch other sports. It was people who just happened to be in the area. They weren't necessarily Skimo fans who came for the Skimo like we were. But I think it's just, and to see all of those people there, and then to see like the number of people who've emailed me articles, and they're like, "Holy crap, is this thing you do?" over the last couple of weeks is just
Yeah.
wild. Like our
Yep.
sport is getting so much more visibility because of this. Um, and so yeah, I don't know. I just think that to me is one of the biggest takeaways. Like Rory said, like it's awesome that we can go and we can cheer on USA. But this is a big moment for the sport, which is that's my like biggest takeaway right now.
Building on a couple things Joe said, I think so. One, there's this saying in Skimo that slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And today was the kind of conditions that are exactly slow is smooth, smooth is fast days. Because anybody that was trying to blaze through a transition probably had a little bobble that might have cost them a spot in a race. So I think that's definitely like, this is what we mean when we say that. And then another thing, yeah, building on just like the bringing new people into the sport and kind of casuals getting to see it for the first time. As we're recording this video, I keep getting messages from people back in the U.S. About, I'm hearing how the Skimo went. Just watched the replay. I just got a message from one of the other athlete reps that's watching it. So the speed skating people, the cycling people have been watching it, and I think people are just kind of psyched to see what is this cool new sport. I remember a couple of new sports. I can remember specifically like when curling came to the Winter Olympics. I was actually at a ski race I think it was in Wolf Creek. And I remember we finished our ski race, going back to the hotel, and then like that was the first Olympics that curling was on TV. And we're like, this is so cool, a new thing. So it's kind of neat to see Skimo be the new thing this year, and seeing people that don't know much about it learn about it for the first time. So that's cool.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, guys. I'm really appreciate you sharing that, and just that perspective. The fact that it's dumping snow. I know you guys haven't seen it, but like on the recordings and the playbacks, they have these awesome slow motion shots that you can just imagine the snow's falling slow speed, and you got the transitions at the top, and you got the running up those steps and people falling, and coming around the gates in slow motion. Like, it looks really cool. And Joe, I think you're right that dynamic conditions do showcase just how technical and hard it is, even for a 3-minute race. And so I'm glad it came across in that way. I would agree. Team USA, strong showing for both Cam and Anna, for both of them to make it to the semis. I liked seeing that for both of them. I know how fast they are. You guys know. I mean, we all know Cam really well. We're getting to know Anna. We know how fast and explosive they are. But to watch against the other Olympians, when the gun goes off, they're not quite as fast in the first, let's say, 10 to 20 seconds of the race, which shows A, how fast the other Olympians are, but B, it's great to see both of the American athletes by the top of that hill. They're gaining places and they're making passes on the boot pack and then on that final skin. And I think that bodes well to the mixed relay, where the format is, for those who are unfamiliar, it's the woman goes for about 6 or 7 minutes, pass off to the man who goes 6 or 7 minute circuit, back to the woman, same circuit, back to the man, same circuit. So each athlete is doing 2 by 6 to 7 minutes, which is still very relatively short and very high end, but compared to the sprint, there's a lot more endurance involved. And, I think they both look great moving in that direction.
Yeah, I think it'll be really interesting to see. Like, definitely the sprint, not with all athletes, but by and large, we see a different selection. Like the people who are really good at the relay are more often good at distance races than they are good at sprints. There are some crossovers, as we see, like as the sport is still pretty young. But generally, that sprint relay selects for true distance athletes, which, I mean, I think you could argue that Anna has some pretty serious chops in the like track 1500 running, but Cam is certainly he is a distance specialist, and I would say, like, for the most part, Anna is a distance specialist, and so yeah, you see that in the fact that they're making up positions later. But yeah, I think it bodes really well for the the relay. I think I'm excited. I think Saturday is going to be really fun to watch.
Yeah, I think it definitely
Yeah,
was
I
a
think
good
so
sign
too.
too. It
Let's
seemed like
talk
they both had a good sprint race.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say a little bit more about this relay coming up. So today's Thursday, finished the sprint, day off Friday for Skimo, and then into the mixed relay Saturday. We'll see most of these same athletes. And the format's a little simpler, whereas in the sprints, to get the gold medal, you had to make it through 3 races. The relays, just one race, 12 teams. Gun goes off, 1 half-an-hour race. It's super exciting. It's really easy to follow for spectators. It's going to be, if you've never seen the sport, you can just look and see who's winning, what place are they in. Again, watch those transitions. There's even more transitions. There'll probably be a lot of passing. If it's still snowing and it's heavy and wet, it's going to be dynamic. It's going to be chaotic. It's maybe even be more dynamic because multiple sets of skins on and off the skis, making sure the bottom of the ski is dry enough. Do you have the right glue? Do you have, as you said, Joe, do you have the right wax on the skins so they're not clumping, but they're moving fast enough? Like these things, it's kind of like I've been watching biathlon and cross country skiing in the Olympics. You can see like, oh, the Swedes got the skis right, and this team didn't. There could be moments like that. Did you get the right skins and the right wax? What are you guys looking towards seeing, and what do you expect in terms of the mixed relay here in a couple days?
I think for me, one of the interesting things, so a normal World Cup mixed relay that these folks do all the time, there would only be 6 people on the start line because they've gone through those brackets to see who qualifies. And they're not doing that for the Olympics. The Olympics is 12 up, so twice as many people on course. And that's going to be something to deal with. It's going to be those first few transitions. There will likely be quite a few more people in the transition at the same time. The transitions will probably be a little more chaotic. So I think those are going to be pretty critical to get in and out of those transitions smoothly without course traffic. I think conditions-wise, the forecast is simpler on Saturday. It should be, the snow, no new snow, so the snow should have a couple days to settle. They'll groom it. It should be a hard, packed surface, so really easy to put power down. I would expect they're going to reuse part of this course today. Will be like half of the course on Saturday, but I would expect them being able to go up it a little faster. Probably not as many bobbles on the steps. It shouldn't be icy. It should be cleared. It shouldn't be changing during the race. And I think just the skidding part, they'll have more grip and be able to put a little more power into the snow since it'll be like a hard consolidated surface. So I think that'll be a different dynamic for the mixed relay versus the sprint. And then, in terms of like the mix and who's going to be where, like Joe was saying, the distance athletes, which traditionally we're probably slightly better at, Cam and Anna, that should be a stronger event for them. I'd look for a different set of people. You have people like Oriole that you expect to, they're going to be, Spain's going to be near the front no matter what. But there might be some other athletes battling for, that were not even making the final today that are battling into the finals. Or those, sort of top 6 positions in this race. So that'll be cool to see the switch between which athletes are kind of in the front of the pack.
Yeah, and I think it'll be interesting to see. We've been talking a lot about, and a lot of people have asked me like, hey, I don't know the sport. Are we expecting to get any medals from Skimo? And I think expect is definitely not what I would say, but I think there's a possibility. I mean, like we proved by winning the World Cup in December that these athletes are they're in the mix, they're in the hunt. And granted, the 2 best, probably the 2 best teams in the world were not there in December, but still you put those in and that makes us third. So it'll be interesting. I think they were 7th in the last World Cup in Boitaou just like a month ago. But I definitely think that and you look at some of those gaps in there, and I think that they are in the hunt for probably that bronze medal, which would be an amazing day. And like I would be incredibly proud of both of them. Even for if they're 6th or 7th or something like that. It is a crazy strong field. But I think that I'm not going to say I wouldn't be surprised at a medal, but I think it's a possibility. It'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree with all that, guys. And I'm curious about probably in my mind the top two favorite teams are France and Spain. And I'm curious about the psychology coming off today. It seems to me Spain's got to be stoked. Like they haven't had very many Winter Olympics medals. I think maybe this was their first gold medal. Oriol Cardona Cole, like he's looking super strong. He got the gold that he wanted. And then Ana Alonso, like clearly was ecstatic with bronze, as she should be, especially given coming off this injury. And like a month ago, it was very uncertain of whether she'd be ready for the Olympics. So like Spain's got the momentum. France did well. I mean, Emily Harrop got the silver. Thibaut Anselme got a bronze. I hope that they're, especially Emily, I'm sure wanted gold. I hope that they're happy with that. I mean, anyone who gets an Olympic medal, but they've been right. They've been right at the front. I mean, and then you look at Switzerland, Marianne Fatone. Like, man, she looked like a machine today, and she's really, really good in the relay as well. So you're right. These super strong teams. Italy didn't come away with any medals today. They're probably stronger in the relay. And I think you're right. I mean, after, sort of France and Spain, probably the favorites, I think that bronze and beyond, that's USA can totally be in the mix, and I think we saw in the last World Cup, early on, they got a bit of a gap where they were off of kind of that third place pack. What I'm looking for is early on, can they kind of stay sort of in that mix and then be in that race? Because if you're in with those teams, then you're kind of, as the race goes on, I think Cam and Anna have a chance to potentially, make some moves, both of them on their second lap if they're in that mix. So I'm getting chills just thinking about it, guys. I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, it's interesting to think too about Anna is so new to this sport. She's gonna be something like 20% more experienced on Saturday than she was today in terms of the number of Skimo races she's done.
Yeah.
So she's making big gains all the time.
Yeah, I think
ahead, Joe.
it'll be really interesting to see what happens with those top two teams. I think Ana Alonso has done some amazing things, but I'm sure that she's just doesn't quite have the volume of training. And so like that's always going to be pretty difficult to come back from. And I think that we can even see like she was a little off her game today compared to like absolutely an amazing job coming back from this injury. Probably not as strong still as she was prior to the injury. And holy shit, I think Emily Harrop is out for blood. Like I think it's going to be really interesting to see what her tactic is. I think she might be just hungry enough to try to like put everybody away on the first lap, which she could do. And then you put like, yeah, I think France is probably my pick. I think they're going to be really hard to beat. But I also think like I had a coach one time who said the goal is never to win a race. Like to win a race is an unrealistic expectation. Like really what you're trying to do is you're trying to earn the right to be on the podium. And then there's a lot of like luck factors and a lot of like daily variation that are going to mean who is standing on the podium or, who's first versus who's second versus who's third. And I think, I don't think that the U.S. I don't think there's many teams, honestly, who have done that work to be on that first or second. It seems like they are definitely a group on their own. But I think we're certainly Cam and Anna have put in the work, and they are in that contention of that next 3-4 teams probably who all kind of are of similar levels and on a given day, like the order of those 3 or 4 teams is all going to be mixed up. So yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting, really fun to watch. Stoked to be here.
Hey, folks, this is Travis Macy. I'm the host of the Skimo Gold podcast. Thanks, as always, for listening. When I'm not podcasting about Skimo, most of my time is spent coaching adult endurance athletes. These are runners, cyclists, ski mountaineers, adventure racers, and multi-sport athletes. I do this with Macy Endurance Coaching, and the only platform that's been used at Macy Endurance Coaching for my coaching work and also for my own training for more than 10 years is Training Peaks. You can check out trainingpeaks.com/Skimo Gold to begin a free trial today. You probably know Training Peaks as the industry leader in data insights and analysis. That's very true. I love the data. I love the performance management charts. I love the TSS. All of that is extremely helpful to me. What I also love is just the communication and personalization tools within Training Peaks. When I open up an athlete's calendar, I can see a weather forecast 10 days out of what's the weather, and that's hugely helpful to me. Most of the athletes I coach are in other states, if not other countries. That weather forecast is very helpful. I also love that it allows my athletes to put in notes and segments about their availability, their travel, what they have going on. In this way, the calendar becomes the first and most important back and forth in our communication tools. And then we continue communicating via notes on the workouts themselves, via feedback, via the smiley face scale that athletes can complete after a workout. And it's just it's foundational to me as a coach in personalizing the experience. I could go on and on, but we want to get back to the episode. So check out trainingpeaks.com/Skimo Gold. Get a free trial today, whether you're an athlete or a coach or both like me. trainingpeaks.com/Skimo Gold.
One other thought I have that I hope shakes out well, but so for folks who don't know, like Joe mentioned, Anna Alonso just having this horrible injury, racing with I think torn ACL, MCL, pretty compromised knee joint, recovering from multiple fractures. So she's kind of doing what Lindsey Vonn did, same sort of deal, where she skipped surgery and is out there racing, probably in a fair amount of discomfort. So it's really cool, one, to see that she got a bronze today. That's pretty incredible. But I hope that that her recovery is okay. I mean, she clearly went super hard today on a compromised knee. Hopefully, 1 day recovery before another big race. That she's not in too much pain out there, or that doesn't mess her race up too much. It's pretty cool to see her go for this as hard as she's going for it. So yeah, I hope that that's a thing, that there's a 1 day recovery time is enough for her to bounce back from the effort it took today to get a bronze on that compromised knee.
Yeah, Ana Alonso she was one of the many athletes who had a slip on the foot part, and it was hard to tell on the replay, that left injured knee. Did she hit it? Did it hit a stair? I couldn't really tell. She kept moving really well. So yeah, hopefully she's back and okay. And I am here's a question. Just looking at some of these teams, the men's final, we had out of 6 athletes, 2 were Spanish and 2 were Swiss, showing a lot of depth. And similarly with some other teams, just thinking out loud, I think changes could be made still, right? Let's say someone's injured, someone's sick. I know Team USA, I think, has alternates on the ground, right? Griffin Briley and Jesse Young. Should something happen to someone who's planned to race Saturday, I think teams can still make subs. Do you guys know? Am I right about that?
Yeah, the rule there is called force majeure, and they can be substituted up to 1 hour before the start for like a medical condition. Right. So yeah, that could absolutely happen. I hope it doesn't have to happen, but all the teams would have alternate athletes here that could step in if it was needed.
Well, guys, this has been awesome. Joe, I loved your coaching advice. Listeners, if you're looking for a Skimo coach, that's why you should look up Coach Joe Howdyshell there. He will help you get that podium mindset. Most of us probably don't have Olympics in our future, but there's always the local series and the age group, and there's places to test yourself if you want to. Maybe my final question, Rory, is to you. You've been doing, as you said, a lot of the fine print of Skimo, this USOPC stuff. Is there anything you can say, whether it's official or even just speculative, about Skimo in 4 years? The Olympics 2030 are in France. Do we know if it's in for sure? All of us have our fingers crossed. Maybe in future Olympics we'll have not only the sprint and mixed relay, but maybe the individual race, maybe the vertical race. Maybe these more romantic traditional versions of Skimo that are technical and big mountains and ridge lines and couloirs. Do we know anything about that, Rory, or is there anything you can say, officially or unofficially?
Sure. Yeah, I can say some things unofficially. I'm definitely not part of that process. I don't have any insider info, but I hear hubbub, the hallway chat about it. So a couple things. I know that the events that were proposed for 2030 in France that were new, two of them were kind of summer sports, cyclocross and something else. And I know basically the guy who's in charge of selecting new sports for France put out a statement saying like, we don't want to start including summer sports in the Winter Olympics. Skimo's a winter sport, blah blah blah. So he would have a lot of power and was in favor of inclusion. So I think that's a good sign. I have also seen some of what the ISMF has proposed as courses, and talked to other coaches and things like that. Even as far back as Worlds last year, was talking to the Austrian coach. He was just certain it was going to be included and certain it was going to include a individual race as well. And I know the sort of the things that were being proposed by ISMF in terms of courses were proposing individual courses that would actually be co-located with like some extreme skiing on some pretty cool terrain. So, I think the expectation on the Skimo side, other coaches, national federations, is that it will be included. And my, again, I don't officially have any info, but my understanding is the way this works. Closing the ceremony of this games or shortly thereafter, the program for 2030 will be announced. So I think we'll know pretty soon here whether it's officially in.
Fingers crossed. Well, that's good, and yeah, we'll just have to see. Joe, any final thoughts from you before you enjoy the rest of the time at the bar? Maybe get back to the hotel, late night party with those Skimo athletes out on the town. I'm joking, obviously, but what else do you want to leave us with, Joe?
Gosh, if there's anything, it's keep watching the races. Go to ISMF Skimo and their YouTube channel and watch the rest of the season. Like if you had some fun watching this, just keep following the sport. And if you haven't tried it, do it. It's it's basically just hiking, but with skis on, and then you get to ski down. It's pretty awesome. and if you do it and you've been kind of negative on the Olympics, I think I'm not sure that I was a naysayer, but I was hesitant to see kind of the impact that this would have on our sport. And I really do think it's going to be positive. And we're going to end up with, as you said, the more like traditional romantic aspects will come back in. There's always going to be a little bit of a trade-off, but this is cool, and I think it's going to be only good for the sport. And so, yeah, I think try it, watch it, enjoy it, have a beer.
Excellent. I love it. Rory, any final thoughts from you?
No, I mean, I concur with Joe. It's awesome. And definitely, I guess, one final thought is it is something you don't have to be an Olympic athlete to go do it. And if you do a sport, if you go out and try it, I think you'll get a lot more appreciation for what you're watching on TV. So yeah, if you live anywhere near snow, go demo a pair of uphill skis and give it a shot. It's a lot of fun.
Awesome. I love it, guys. Thanks so much for sharing this. Thanks for being there, supporting Team USA in the sport. Thanks for sharing your time with us. I can't agree more. Listeners, if you're new to Skimo, welcome. Thanks for coming. And if you're thinking about trying it, it doesn't have to be 3 minutes all out uphill until you're ready to vomit. Most people, when they do it, and most of us, we're cruising around and we're in a resort, or maybe we're out of bounds, but we're out there with our friends or our dog or alone, listen to a podcast or music or just being out in nature. There's a lot of different ways to do this. And you can get the super high-end equipment that you see these athletes using that's full carbon fiber and really light and really expensive. But that's like the bike that today Pogacar rides. You can also do it with your own bike, and whether that's a gravel bike or a mountain bike or whatever, you can get the equivalent with uphill skis. It doesn't have to be the lightest and fastest. You can buy secondhand gear, on Facebook or Craigslist or whatever. There's a lot of ways to do it. So if you're thinking about it, give it a try. Learn from guys like these. Rory, Joe, thanks so much. Really appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your trip, and I think we're all pumped to see what happens in the relay.
Absolutely. Good talking to you, Travis. Cheers.
Thanks, Travis. Cheers.
Thanks dearly for listening to Olympic Dispatch by Skimo Gold. This is the premier podcast and YouTube show for ski mountaineering interviews and race analysis. My name's Travis Macy. I'm the host. You can find my stuff at travismacy.com. There is endurance coaching, books, keynote speaking, and more. You can find our production team at palmtreepodco.com, and you can find our sponsors online and in person out there at the events, out there on the slopes. These brands have played a large role in allowing us to produce daily episodes throughout the Olympics. They're brands that want to be part of ski mountaineering, and they're brands that I encourage you to please consider supporting. Please start with Pomoka climbing skins. They're pink, they're flashy. You've probably seen them out there with the top athletes when they do those awesome transitions. They give you a nice glide up the hill and all the traction you need. That's Pomoka climbing skins. Please consider also Dynafit. This is the clothing that I wear pretty much head to toe when I'm out there ski mountaineering. You see it on many of the top athletes. You see it out there on trail runners and hikers and people doing summer activities. It's just good stuff. Please check out Dynafit. Please go to trainingpeaks.com/Skimo Gold to create a free trial if you're an athlete or a coach or both like me and you want to use the world's best platform. In fact, the only platform that I've used in over 10 years as an endurance athlete and as a coach. Everything is in one place. The planning, the programming, the data, the metrics, and just as important, the communication and personalization that allows for a human touch. Honestly, I would not use any other platform for my coaching, which is the work that I do each day. So again, check that out, trainingpeaks.com/Skimo Gold for a free trial today. Please consider Revanta Creatine by Neuro Reserve. This is a supplement I use each day. I started taking creatine a couple years ago when I had a serious concussion. Creatine was and is described in many concussion recovery protocols. And I honestly think this supplement has played a large role in helping me get back to where I am today, doing these podcasts, being an athlete, driving my kids around. I had a lot of months where I couldn't drive on a highway. I was pretty impaired and really had to work hard to come back. Creatine has played a big role with that. So please check out revantacreatine.com/Skimo Gold. Put in Skimo Gold, one word, all caps, for a 10% discount. And finally, big thanks to Camp for supporting the Skimo Gold podcast. I started using Camp helmets, packs, gloves, and more when I got into Skimo more than 15 years ago. I had already been using the products for adventure racing, especially the climbing and rope sections, and I keep using the stuff. We love Camp because they are racers, adventurers, and mountain people who just get it when it comes to sports like Skimo. So thanks, Camp, and please check them out. Hey, audience, thanks to you. Thanks for being part of Skimo Gold. Thank you for liking these episodes, for subscribing, for giving us comments, for sharing them. If you've been in Skimo for a long time like I have, hey, awesome. We finally got these races in the Olympics. I hope that you're stoked. I hope that you've liked the content. And I keep saying this, if you're new to Skimo, if you just heard about it via the Olympics, welcome. What a cool niche sport. It's something to follow, something you can watch online with the ISMF YouTube channel. It's something you can learn about via all of our episodes. Go back, look through the catalog on audio or on video, and I promise you're going to find some really high quality stuff. You can become a better athlete. You can become a better person. You can learn about mindset. You can learn about training and nutrition and gear. These are all things that we've gotten into deeply at Skimo Gold. And hey, now the content is out there. So go back and check it out. We would honestly be honored to have you along. So thanks for joining us. And there's more coming at you. We're going to take a little break here over the next week or so, early February, but we'll be back in March. Plan for March and April is 1 to 2 episodes per week. That's going to be a mix of interviews and race analysis. A lot of the race analysis, we're coming at you with Katie Friend. You know her from previous episodes and her ISMF commentary. Katie is awesome. I love working with her. Excited to bring you some more of those. And we've got some great interviews lined up. That first one, March 3rd, Max King. You probably know Max, one of the most dynamic runners, I might say ever, at least over the last couple decades, a guy who continues in his mid 40s to perform at the highest level on the roads, on the cross country course, in the mountains, and on skis. Max is really good at Skimo too. So excited to bring you that episode on March 3rd. I've also recorded an interview with Joe D'Amore, previous winner of not only the Power 4, but also the Vertical K running world championship, amongst many more. Super pumped to bring you that episode with Joe, and we'll just be coming at you more and more. Hopefully get our Team USA Olympians back on the podcast as soon as possible. Get to hear about their experience, and I'm just excited for more. So thanks for being part of the team. I think life is a team sport, and by listening to this podcast, you're part of the team. So welcome. All right, folks, that's probably about enough for me. Thanks as always. We will catch you next time on Skimo Gold.